Today, we're diving deep into the economic outlook of Lynette Zang. Now, with about 5 decades of experience in banking and currency, she's got a really unique and pretty urgent take on where we're all headed. So let's get right into it.
So to really get where she's coming from, you have to understand her favorite metaphor. She wants you to picture the economy as a big car, just cruising down the highway. From the outside, it looks fine. It seems to be humming along. But Zhang says, hey, if you listen, really listen, you can hear the engine sputtering. It's losing power, it's slowing down. And her big warning is that we could all be stranded on the side of the road, and soon.
Okay, so what exactly is causing all this engine trouble? In this first part, we're going to look at the foundational weaknesses Zhang sees as these massive warning signs. The specific data points she says are just flashing red all over the dashboard.
Zhang points to a few really specific things. For starters, the service sector has pretty much ground to a halt. Then you've got factory orders for big-ticket items. The stuff that shows businesses are confident. They've plunged. And get this, continuing jobless claims have actually climbed all the way back to where they were in 2021. To put it simply, businesses are shrinking, and finding a job is getting a lot harder.
On top of all that, you've got this absolute mountain of debt. Zhang makes a huge deal out of this. U.S. household debt has blown past an incredible $18.4 trillion. And look, that's not just some number on a screen. That's real financial stress on millions and millions of families, and it makes the entire system super, super fragile.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just a problem for lower-income folks. According to Zhang's work, people are falling behind on their credit card and car payments at all income levels, middle class, even upper-income families. What that means is the system has almost no cushion left. There's very little shock absorption for whatever crisis might be coming next.
All right, let's move on to part 2. So if that sputtering engine is the long-term problem, what's the thing that's going to push us over the edge? What's the acute threat? This is what Zhang calls the digital cliff. And her whole argument here is that the official story we're all being told is just dangerously out of touch with what's actually happening.
Zhang sees this huge gap between the official story and reality. The government says inflation is, 2.7%? She says the real number is well over 10%. Wall Street is debating if a recession is coming, while Zhang argues a huge part of the population is already in a personal depression. They're using buy now, pay later just to buy groceries. And all those great job numbers we hear about, they keep getting revised down, way down later on, painting a much uglier picture.
And this really gets to the heart of her concern about this phase. With the data being managed and massaged like this, she says we're all basically flying blind. Think about it. It's like being in the cockpit of a plane that's losing altitude, but someone has taped a pretty picture of the sky over the instrument panel. You won't know you're about to crash until it's way too late. So, this leads us to the mechanism she believes is designed to trigger the whole crisis, something she calls the Genius Act. Now, in her view, this act created the legal framework for stablecoins, digital currencies that are pegged to the dollar. She argues this wasn't just about regulating crypto. No, this was setting the stage for a deliberate, controlled demolition of the financial system as we know it.
Okay, so how would this actually work? Zhang lays out 3 pretty simple steps. First, huge corporations, think Amazon, Walmart, start issuing their own stablecoins. Second, because this digital money is so easy and fast to create, it just floods the system. And third, all this new currency chasing the same amount of stuff, well, that's the recipe for hyperinflation. And that, she believes, is the intended reset event.
So if that's the problem and that's the trigger, what in the world are you supposed to do? Well, that brings us to the final part of our breakdown, her strategy for actually getting through the crisis she sees coming. And it's not just about money, it's a whole survival kit. Her entire strategy, her whole philosophy, is built on this one simple principle. Zhang hammers this point home. In a crisis, the difference between having a piece of paper that says you own something like a stock or an ETF and physically holding the asset in your hand becomes absolutely everything. If it's just a digital entry in a bank's computer, you don't really own it.
And when it comes to physical assets, she gives precious metals very specific jobs. She argues silver, based on its history against a basket of food, is the tool you use to maintain your day-to-day lifestyle. Gold, on the other hand, which has performed way, way better over time, is for preserving and actually growing your wealth. It puts you in a position to take advantage of new opportunities when things reset.
But her strategy is so much bigger than just gold and silver. She's got this 8-point mantra for what she calls true resilience. It completely shifts your focus from just thinking about money to the real pillars of survival. Having food and water, securing your energy and shelter, and making sure you have security. And that's where things like barterability, wealth preservation, and maybe most importantly, community all come into play.
And of all those things on the list, Zang is adamant that community is the most vital. She reminds us that in a real crisis, nobody makes it alone. Resilience is a team sport. Building those local networks, actually knowing your neighbors, that creates a safety net that no amount of money can ever buy. There really is strength in numbers.
So when you boil it all down, Lynette Zang's analysis is a warning that our economic engine isn't just sputtering, it's at the very end of its life. And if she's right, well, it leaves all of us with a really fundamental question. When this car finally does break down and the system gets reset, what is it that's going to hold true value?